Thus saith the Savior, children obey the blessed command. You may be seated.
We are reading through Matthew's Gospel, in case you are new today, did not know that. We're now starting chapter 7. This is the final chapter of what we call the Sermon on the Mount. So let's read together. You can your text and me and mine, or you on your device. Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. Oh, I have heard that verse a lot in my day. Have you? It's often quoted, sometimes spoken to Christians by those who are not, saying, don't you dare judge, Jesus said it. You probably can't be around teens for very long without hearing, don't judge me, don't judge me. We saw last week Jesus wasn't really saying don't be concerned about food or drink or clothes, but don't worry about them. And sometimes it's important to think about what he doesn't mean before you think about what he does mean. Here's another one, judge not. Black and white, Jesus said it, do not judge, yes. But there's more to understanding this than just reading those words. It's important the context here, the sermon, and in the greater New Testament. It has to all make sense together. And when you look at the context, just in this chapter, you'll discover Jesus isn't really talking about distinguishing or assessing or discerning. Everybody has to do that. It's right and it's good. Deal fairly with people. Assess the situation. Figure people out. Know what's going on. We all produce fruit in biblical terms, so we will judge a tree by its fruit. Jesus is going to say that before this chapter is over. He'll also speak about wolves and sheep in this same chapter and knowing the difference between them. Jesus isn't saying not to judge outright, but not to judge in a certain way with a particular attitude or motive. This isn't so much judging, but more like maybe prejudging, prejudice. The word here can be used in our English word critic. That's where that comes from. Don't be overtly critical, harsh, mean-spirited. Don't be a fault finder, setting out to discover and reveal everyone else's problems, taking joy in the investigation. Even if you don't know the original word, you kind of know the spirit of the thing, right? You know people like this. Hare says it. It's the habit of constantly finding fault with others, what they say, what they do. It's a disease of the spirit. The critic arrogantly assumes a superiority that entitles him or her to assess the failings of everybody else. You hear Jesus' warning, right? If you do this, it'll come back to you. The warning is right and it's real. Some have taken this to mean we should never, ever say anything to everybody else. Don't judge, don't call out a sin, don't confront an issue, don't say anything to anybody, just live and let live. Mind your business. Say nothing to anybody about anything, but that can't be right, can it? Stott says this cannot be understood as a command to suspend all critical faculties in relation to other people, turn a blind eye to their faults, acting like you don't even notice, to eschew all criticism, to refute, to discern between truth and error, goodness and evil. It can't be that. Jesus isn't saying to never, ever, 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 ever judge, but be careful when you do. It comes back to you, verse 2, for in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and the measure you use, it will be measured against you. It's not a belief in karma. I hear sometimes Christians use karma. The universe doesn't come back to bite us, to make things fair. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do anything. He's paying attention here to how we live. The way you treat people, it will come back to you. Every action, every word, every motive of the heart, God is watching and He is judging, and He will judge someday based on how you live your life and how you treat people. He talks about a measuring stick here, a measure that you use. If I can't really get away from the microphone. Keaton, you don't care if I embarrass you. You don't have to say anything. Come on up on the stage. Just stand here. If I were to measure Keaton with my measuring stick. Oh, Keaton. Oh, it's not good. It's not good. No, it's not good, Keaton. You know what? You can't be like me. That's the truth. You don't measure up, Keaton. Sit down, Keaton. This is embarrassing. It's sad. Oh, Keaton, by my measure, you don't measure up. And I'm sorry. And we giggle, and someday God says, give me that. Give me that. And he pulls it out against me someday when I stand there in nakedness. And he says, oh, Tony, how sad. You can't be me. And you, sir, do not measure up. No mercy for Keaton, no mercy for you. Just one reason I want to be a person of mercy. I know how unworthy I am. And if a judge will one day, a just judge named Jesus, if he will one day judge me, then I need mercy and grace on that day. I better be handing out mercy and grace today. It's not that we cannot challenge or rebuke another. We're missing the point if anybody shouts that, don't judge, as if there's no accountability for anybody anywhere. Just everybody keep their mouth shut. Don't say a word. Who are you to speak? He can't be saying that. It's don't judge just unjustly or quickly or rashly or harshly or arrogantly or hypocritically. What example could I give you to show this? Let me see. Let's see what Jesus says. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? How bad is that, huh? That's called hyperbole. He's exaggerating to make a point. He's done it before, he'll do it again, but it's kind of ridiculous, right? This is where I know Jesus had a sense of humor. He had to have. I wonder if people were chuckling when they heard that. Can you see that happening? Keaton, come on up one more time, brother. I saw something while you were up here before. Stand here and face the crowd because I want them to see it. I think you've got a speck in your eye, Keaton. Keaton, that's embarrassing right there. Can you all see that? How embarrassing, Keaton. That's a good man. Go sit down, Keaton. I wonder if Jesus is smiling as he thinks, not a cardboard stick, a plank, a log sticking out of a man's eye as he thinks he sees a speck in another one's eye. A beam protruding out of his own, trying to see a speck in another. Don't act like a speck is a minor thing, by the way. Have you ever been reduced to tears, wishing that little piece of sand or hair or speck would just come out? It can be hard and inconvenient and irritating, but it can be bigger than that. So don't look at a speck and go, it can't be a big deal. Cosmopolitan had an article back in April 2016. I don't read Cosmopolitan. But one woman, Erica Diaz, was cleaning up after working on a craft project with her daughter, and a small speck of glitter got in her eye. Not a big deal, you say. It's just glitter. Everybody loves glitter. It cut her cornea, created an infection, which ultimately caused her to go completely blind in that eye. She underwent 2 cornea transplants, injections, drops, antibiotics, and none of them worked. The doctors thought she was risking a blood poisoning which could kill her, so they took out her eye. The treatments along the way had side effects where she lost her hair and her eyebrows and her lashes, but don't worry, she got a prosthetic eye. And she reminds everybody glitter can be dangerous. A speck, you say. It's just a speck. It's no big deal. What's the problem here? Well, there is a problem, and a speck should be out of the eye if you want to be healthy and see correctly. So back to Jesus' illustration. The nerve of this guy. A plank, a log, sticking out of his eye. The ignorance, first of all, to not even know he's got it. To try to help another. I think I see something there. He doesn't even know what he's got sticking out of his eye, but I don't think it's innocence. I don't think it's ignorance. And Jesus calls it out. It's arrogance. How can you not notice the 2x4 out of your eye. He's ignoring it, acting like he doesn't have it, denying that it's even there. Card said, he's not blind to the tiny speck in his brother's eye, he's blind to his own blindness. What do you call that? What do you call that? Jesus has a word for that. You hypocrite. You hypocrite. You want to be sure every person has not one speck in either eye, then good for you. Do it. Go around releasing the specks from people's eyes. Good. That's called care and concern and love. But this is none of those. This is unashamed hypocrisy. He doesn't care about his own eye or what is in it. He quickly jumps to the bad stuff in the other guy's eye, the speck. There's no sincerity here, but some reflection should be taking place here, and that's why Jesus says, you hypocrite. First, take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. If we are to judge or discern or help or encourage or point out or rebuke, then first notice your own problem. First pay attention to your own sin. Start with honesty and sincerity and removing your issues first. First, start there. Then you will be able to accurately and actually help a person who needs it. If anyone thinks that Jesus doesn't want us to talk about these kind of things, judge not, we shout, judge not. You haven't read the rest of it yet. Then you will be able to address those things that are in that person's life with honesty and humility and reflection. Hey, if the only people who can help challenge, rebuke another brother is one who is faultless, then nobody can say a thing. If the only one who can help a sister is another sister who has not sinned at all, nobody speak up. This isn't about perfection. It can't be about perfection. You don't have to be free from sin to challenge another sinner, just to stop sinning. It just takes a reflection of your own life, a dedication to purifying your own life, a humility to understand the sins in your own life. Then maybe you can do something. But why are you doing it? Who is that other person? Chrysostom said, correct him, but not as a foe, nor an adversary exacting a penalty, as a physician providing medicine. We'll come back to this. Here's what Jesus says next, which sounds odd. And do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. This is challenging. I have often wondered about this as I was younger, about hogs and dogs. What? Why is this here? What is he saying? Who is he talking about? It's tough. You're welcome to come up with your own conclusions. If this is tied to the verses preceding it, then maybe it is more support for the point that Jesus is not saying don't ever judge, but do it with pure motives, with a good heart. What is the sacred thing? Who are the dogs and hogs here? What is he referring to? The meat could be a sacrifice meant for God and God alone that is somehow thrown to the dogs. They would not understand it or appreciate it, just eat it. Our dog's named Sam. I sometimes tell you about Sam because he needs some help. If any of you want to offer, you're welcome to come help. He doesn't chew his food. He grabs it and swallows it like that. Sometimes it comes back up. Sometimes it's messy. But he doesn't even take the time to chew it. So he takes a bit of a cheap hot dog down in the same way he would take a very expensive steak. He has no discernment. It just goes down. Sometimes comes up, but goes down. In the same way, doesn't matter the kind of meat. He's been known to take something in his mouth that he found on the floor, and if it's plastic and not food, it comes back up anyway. But he doesn't do a good job at knowing what is tasteless plastic and what is fine quality steak. Take a bunch of wild pigs or boars in Jesus' day. A man is walking along and here comes a whole bunch of them and they are ferocious. Don't think a little piggy, think a wild boar and a bunch of them. What does he do? Grab the food he has and throw it at them. What if he has no food? Throw something at them. Throws a string of pearls in his pocket. What do? They don't care. They trample it. If they even tried to eat it, and now still may attack him. Could even tear him up, maybe kill him. This seems to be about discernment. What is sacred and righteous? What is good and what is good news? And what is a commitment to godliness and an honesty and reflection in life and an honest discipleship following in the steps of Jesus? What is that? Well, we know what that is, but does anybody else understand that? Do they even appreciate that? When do you speak up and when do you remain silent? When do you present the truth, defend the truth, explain the truth, and when do you just hold your tongue because nothing will help in the moment? When are your words or your actions helpful, and when are they nothingness to someone else? People who don't appreciate righteous living will not appreciate challenges or reflections or encouragement or rebuking from those who try to be righteous. You don't have to offer your 2 cents to everybody. You don't have to speak up every time you see a chance. You don't have to throw out your wisdom because of stupidity swirling around. Not every opportunity is a great opportunity to speak up. I think of Jesus, who had a conversation with Pilate and with Herod while he was being judged. Not so much a conversation with Herod. He spoke to Pilate and didn't say a word to Herod. Proverbs 26:4. Don't answer a fool according to his folly, or you'll become just like him. That's true, you know. When somebody is being stupid, you don't necessarily have to enter a debate. It may just show your own foolishness to become like him. And then the next verse says, answer a fool according to his folly, or he'll be wise in his own eyes. Oh, that's also true. Did you know that? Speak up when a fool says something foolish, or he may think he's right, and he may want to be right. So teach him, tell him, help him. Wait, so which is it? Don't answer him or answer him? Yes, it depends. And it takes a little discernment. It takes a little wisdom to know when do you throw it out there and when do you keep it here. Who are the dogs and who are the pigs and what is sacred and what is worthless and what is a treasure? Do you know? Some don't know and some won't ever get it. So be careful when you judge and how you judge. And this is why we know there are times where you do have to judge. Paul, the most prolific writer in the New Testament, spoke of Corinth. And in Corinth, in the church at Corinth, this is disturbing, there was a man in the church who made it known that he was sleeping with his father's wife. Not his mother, but still just as ugly. So the man is having sexual relations with his father's wife, his stepmother, and it's okay. And everybody else may seem to think it's okay. And Paul says it's not okay. More than judging a man like that, throw him out. Throw him out. Jesus said not to judge. No, Jesus didn't mean that, and Paul didn't allow that, and no Christian should sit silently while a so-called Christian does that. So what do we do with Jesus' words? Well, live differently, maybe. Be better. Do as Jesus did. Even when we're called to be a judge, don't ever be judgmental. And don't ever be harsh and critical. No arrogance allowed here. Hypocrites are not welcome. Find something better to do than finding fault with others. Maybe for a time to put down your gavel and your robe and quit being a judge of everybody when you think you should. Instead of carrying around a measuring stick and looking for specks while all the time a log is protruding from your own eye, change your ways. Be a helper. Be humble. Offer a gentle hand and a gracious outlook and a load of mercy when you find another who does have a speck. If God is merciful to you, then be merciful to others. If He has measured you with grace and not judgment, then show the same measure to others. Love and kindness to all. And don't catch them. Don't try to catch them if you're trying to help them. You may know I went to a Christian school in St. Louis from 3rd grade on. Mike Powers went to that same school. In 3rd grade, if I remember it right, we're sitting in this classroom and our teacher is helping us read through the Bible. And we have some verses and we're reading along, 3rd graders, trying to read the Scriptures, the Holy Scriptures, to understand what God has said. And we got to, as I would finish reading, I would pass it on to the next person. And that person would read a few verses and pass it on to the next person. As you may know, 3rd graders might do. It turned into a game where we didn't just pass it off. We tried to catch somebody who wasn't paying attention. So we might be reading along, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged for in the same way." John! And John sits there and he's been caught because he wasn't paying attention. And I got him! It's easy to take life as a game, where Christianity becomes something we play. We carry around our gavel, we wear our robe, and we have a measuring stick, and we try to make sure everybody notices that they have flaws and you have flaws, but not this guy. Maybe we've lost the point along the way. Maybe we have become, at times, self-righteous hypocrites who spend time catching people in their sin, pointing out their specks, calling them out, while all the time thinking we are looking better. The spotlight is on them and their sin, so I, in the moment, am superior to you. If this week, this month, this year, you've been looking for specks and past your own beam, it's a good day to do a little self-diagnosing and some self-surgery. Paul, Romans 2, "You therefore have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else, for at what point there you judge another, you're condemning yourself because you are passing judgment since you're doing the very same things." Before you get out the glass that magnifies another, look into the glass that reflects your own reflection. Gaze into your own life, into your own sinfulness, and then with humility, turn around outside of the mirror and go outside and find some people, a brother or sister who genuinely needs help, where you cannot criticize with gleeful excitement, but help with tender mercy. Because our job is not to catch people. It's to help them see better. But first, we have to be able to see better. We already have a God. Jehovah is His name. Nobody here needs to put themselves in the place of the Lord, trying to know somebody's heart, the motives for which they act. We already have a judge. Jesus will judge every heart, every intention, every motive of every heart. We don't need a judge. We don't need to be a judge. We already have plenty of hypocrites in the world. We don't need more folks walking around trying to be something they're not, pretending to do better than they do, to self-righteously assume, you are the problem, not me. What do we need? Brothers and sisters who care. People who love enough to say something when something needs to be said, but kind enough to speak with humility, to show mercy, to step in and offer a hand, tenderly taking the time to gently remove a speck that could be irritating and could be damning. We need those kind of people. We need to be those kind of people. Let's stand and sing.